Painful days felt endless, while happiness vanished in a blink. The closer it got to the start of school, the more restless I became. Living here was happiness. But it was happiness I had stolen. My body had never felt so healthy. Going back to school felt like a signal, an end that would shatter this fragile comfort zone I'd built over the past few days. I desperately wanted to do something to deepen the bond between myself and this home. After thinking it over, I woke up at 5 in the morning, quietly did all the housework, and had breakfast ready right as Ethan came downstairs. He looked around the room, then looked at me. "You did my chores." "Then what am I supposed to do?" I pointed to the plate of fried rice and smiled. "You eat breakfast." He clicked his tongue, pulled out a chair, and sat down. He shoveled in a few bites. His chewing slowed. He looked up, his tone cautious. "Do you think it tastes good?" I glanced down at my half-eaten fried rice, confused. "Yeah, it's good." I wasn't picky. To me, as long as food was cooked, it was good. Across from me, his hand holding the chopsticks trembled slightly. "Are you serious?" "It really is good. In fact, I'm the best cook in my family." My mom's cooking was basically just throwing everything into one pot. My dad couldn't cook at all. So technically, I was the best cook in my old home. Even when my dad got drunk and cursed me about everything, he never said my cooking tasted bad. Ethan sucked in a sharp breath. "Then your entire family's sense of taste must have run away together. To say it tastes good would be an insult to yourself. But to say it's bad would hurt your confidence. Let's put it this way, your cooking is perfect for a famine era." "Huh?" he said meaningfully. "It's good for suppressing your appetite." If Ethan's criticism was still somewhat polite, then Auntie's was blunt. She took one bite, and her brows knit tight. "Son, this fried rice is terrible. Don't make it again." Ethan said nothing. I jumped in quietly. "Actually, it's not that bad. I think it's okay." She replied, "Claire, you don't have to cover for him." This dish clearly gave up on color, aroma, and taste. Even a pig would run 10 miles after one bite. I touched my nose. My dad had always loved the fried rice I made. He ate it and never had to run anywhere afterward. No wonder he wasn't even as discerning as a pig. It was the first time I realized my cooking was genuinely bad. I gave up on the idea of making meals. That afternoon, I sat with Annie for the nth rewatch of some old spy drama. Whenever she got nervous for the main character, I reassured her with what I remembered from her previous complaints. "Don't worry, someone's going to save him soon." When she got angry because the villain succeeded, I patted her shoulder. "It's okay. He dies in the next episode." Seeing that one more word would make her tear up, I quickly changed the subject. We went to the studio. Ethan drew designs. I handed him pens, poured him water when he was thirsty, and massaged his shoulders when he got tired. The 10th time I poured water into his cup, he suddenly pressed my hand down. "I really can't drink anymore." Putting down the kettle, I turned and grabbed a towel to wipe the table. "The varnish is almost wiped off." He carried me over to the nearby tatami mat, pulled a blanket over me, and patted my head. "Be good, go to sleep." At dinner that evening, Auntie asked if I was going to school tomorrow. I lowered my head and nodded. Ethan asked, "Do you want me to take you to school?" I fought back the sting in my nose and said slowly, "No need, the school's close." When the time to part actually came, I realized how hard it was to let go. But no matter how hard I thought, I couldn't come up with a good reason to stay with peace of mind. After a while, Auntie quietly asked, "So Claire, what do you want to eat for lunch tomorrow?" I sniffled, lowered my head, and kept eating. The mother and son exchanged a glance without a word. Ethan said quietly, "A kid shouldn't just go to school and never come back, right?" Auntie sighed, then no one will want to dance with this old lady or go to the market with me." Poor me. Yeah, in a strange place, who knows where I'll find another assistant, so obedient and smart, who always tidies up the tools so neatly. Poor me. Hearing this, I suddenly raised my left hand high above my head, swallowing my food whole. I want to. I was willing to do it. Maybe my emotions got the better of me. A bubble formed at my nostril. I inhaled sharply, and the bubble grew bigger. Ethan tried not to laugh and handed me a tissue to wipe it off. "You just eat too little and think too much. Don't worry about leaving or staying." We can definitely raise a kid here with no problem. Auntie Perez said ever since I moved in, she never thought about letting me leave again. I listened, stunned, to every word. That day, I was overwhelmed by an unprecedented kindness. My whole body went limp. Someone said the truth of life is, first, give a slap, then a sweet date. For me, maybe it was the other way around. First, a sweet date, then a slap. Before going to bed that night, I was still thinking about how to apologize to Miller and how to protect myself from their bullying at school. The next day at school, I learned that Miller had already resigned. I heard she was over 2 months pregnant, but the fetus was unstable, so her husband forcibly took her home to rest. The new head teacher was a middle-aged woman, gentle but lacking authority. After school, I was trapped in the classroom. They threw brooms at me aggressively. The dirty bristles swept across my foot, turning my white sneakers black in a spot. If you can't finish sweeping, don't bother going home. Come with us to the bathroom for some fun. A fist beside me clenched and unclenched. These girls were caught between maturity and childishness, seeking attention and achievement by being rebellious, yet bullies who feared the strong. Privately, they often talked about who to take as their big brother. Not long ago, they said the little troublemaker from the alley was the toughest to deal with, and they failed to get him to tattoo them at his shop. I took a piece of paper and carefully wiped the dirt from my shoes. These were new shoes Auntie had just bought me. Hey, did you hear me talking to you? The tall girl in charge looked impatient. I looked up, calm and steady. I heard you, but I'm not sweeping. She reached out to slap me. I didn't dodge. Slap me hard. Ethan's my brother. If you don't beat me to death today, you'll be waiting for him to beat you to death tomorrow. She froze. Instinctively, she exchanged glances with the others, hesitating. I had rehearsed this scene many times in my mind. What? Don't believe me? If you don't believe me, come with me home, or wait for tomorrow's parent-teacher meeting. Better come with me. Once the door closes, you'll be calling for help in vain. I put on a full show of bullying bravado. For a moment, they dared not disbelieve me, until I confidently walked out of the classroom. Out of the school, and no one chased after me. I breathed a huge sigh of relief, but words alone can't match the effect of showing up in person. Back home, I thought about how to get Ethan to impersonate my brother and come to the parent-teacher meeting tomorrow. That night, Auntie Perez was resting. Ethan was tattooing someone. I sat beside him, doting on him. Impossible to chase away. Hot, I fanned him. Cold, I covered him with a blanket. Thirsty, I poured water. Sore, I rubbed his shoulders. Tired, I massaged his back whenever he needed a tool. I sterilized it and handed it to him instantly. From time to time, I complimented, great aesthetic sense, excellent technique. Customers joked about Ethan. Where did you find such a considerate little assistant? He lowered his head, focused on shading and deadpanned, fell from the sky. The customers laughed so hard, they barely noticed the pain. The shading took a long time. Amid the machine's low buzzing, I unknowingly fell asleep on the table. I woke up on the tatami mat, just as Ethan was finishing up. After the customer left, he took off his gloves and got straight to the point. Got something to say? Huh? That obvious. I rubbed my face. He didn't say anything, but his eyes shone brightly with, "You can't hide it." I stammered, "Well, there's a parent-teacher meeting tomorrow. Can you go?" Afraid he might refuse, I added, "Brother." He immediately perked up inside. "All right, you only say brother when there's something. Otherwise, Ethan loves being called that." I nervously touched my nose. Calling Andy felt natural, but calling him brother somehow felt weird, especially with my accent. It sounded a bit like a chicken clucking. I braced myself and said brother a few more times. The curve of his mouth lifted noticeably. His beautiful eyes smiled. "Fine, I'll go." I let out a sigh of relief and quickly said, "Brother, wear something sleeveless tomorrow so your big tattoo shows." With his fierce face and that tattoo, it would scare them even more. He paused and stared at me. "Were you bullied at school? Tell the truth." My heart trembled slightly. After hesitating, I chose to admit it and confessed how I had borrowed him to scare people today. "You seem silly, but you're pretty clever when it counts." He nodded. Okay, got it. Go to school without worries. Seeing he wasn't angry, I pushed further. Brother, you have to show your tattoo tomorrow and scare them to death. He looked puzzled. I don't have a big tattoo. Strange, huh? Although Ethan is a tattoo artist, he doesn't have a single tattoo on his body. But that doesn't matter. I was already prepared. My eyes lit up, and the next second I pulled out a bunch of tattoo stickers from my pocket, 50 cents each, and spread them on the table. Brother, do you like the Azure Dragon or the White Tiger? The next day, most of the other parents had arrived, but Ethan was still nowhere to be seen. I couldn't help but wonder if he had backed out at the last minute. On my 30th glance out the window, his familiar figure finally appeared. He was wearing a black leather jacket, sunglasses on his face, Martin boots on his feet, striding with long, powerful legs, looking sharp and rebellious. Like a gangster boss from a Hong Kong movie, when he sat beside me, the previously noisy classroom quieted down considerably. I patted my chest and whispered, "I thought you weren't coming." He showed no expression. Almost didn't make it. Security at the door was giving me a hard time. Then he took off his jacket, revealing a plain black short-sleeved shirt underneath. Two tattooed arms showed, the Azure Dragon on the left, the White Tiger on the right. The group led by the tall girl had been sneaking glances all along. Now all gasped sharply. The effect was obvious. I secretly gave Ethan a thumbs up during the break. Some boys quietly talked about Ethan's tattoos. I think his tattoo is shiny. Could it be fake? I stiffened at their words. Someone leaned back in their chair, lowered their sunglasses with one hand, and looked disdainful. Some people don't know crap, those hillbillies. This is the latest tattoo technology. I straightened my back and joined in. Exactly. They don't know crap. A bunch of hillbillies. A group of boys behind blushed and started blaming each other. I told you it's not a sticker, but you insisted it was. Nonsense, I knew from the start it wasn't. You just wouldn't believe it. Just then, the teachers called the parents out to discuss the monthly exam results. As soon as they left, my spot was crowded with people. Those who weren't familiar before gathered, seemingly forgetting they had bullied me before. They all talked at once. "Your brother is so handsome." I said, "He's fierce." "Your brother is so tall." I said, "He's good at fighting." "Why didn't we know you had a brother before?" I said, "He's in a gang, surrounded by gunfire every day. Recently wiped out a gang, so he finally has some free time." I said, "He's moody, hates cliques and bullying. If he doesn't like something, he fights." Middle schoolers in rebellion, always believing rumors, plus Ethan's intimidating look and mysterious background, believed every word. They were stunned, eyes flickering. As I got more carried away bragging. Ethan returned, hands in pockets, standing behind me. I rolled my eyes and grabbed his hand, shouting, "Brother, don't get impulsive, let's talk it out, don't shoot." The crowd quickly scattered. He said, his reputation was made with one blast, and after who knows what he told their parents. They all avoided me. I was so happy I ate an extra bowl of rice, but my happiness was premature. That night, Ethan pointed to my math test paper, which scored 17 points, and said quietly, "Didn't expect you to be such a show-off." My face flushed immediately. Last month during the math test, they kept kicking my chair and demanding answers. In anger, I just wrote for 5 minutes and then spaced out. The tall poppy gets cut down. Good grades, quiet, with no support. Would only make my current situation worse. So I always kept myself ordinary, lowering my presence. Ethan stopped drawing and pulled up a small stool beside me, picked up my test paper, and started teaching me math. I thought he was joking at first, but the more I listened, the more shocked I was. He explained complex problems simply and could easily extrapolate. I was stunned. Is the bar for gangsters so high now? Maybe my expression was obvious, so he gave me a light smack on the head. "What are you looking at?" "With my education, teaching you is a breeze," I said confusedly. "But you don't look like someone who studies," he said meaningfully. "I think you look like you study well." So every night he spent time tutoring me in math. I was okay at studying, but math happened to be my weakest subject. I didn't refuse. By the second monthly exam, I jumped from 500th place to 3rd in the grade. When he saw the report card, he joked, You're really good at studying. Just messing with your big brother, right? I blinked, hands together. No, it's all because you teach me well, brother. Some people can't break free from their own shackles, but become liberators for others. Auntie Perez is like that, and so is Ethan. They told me that at 14, I was still a child. And what I needed was not strength, but safety and protection. So I didn't have to get up early to carry snakeskin bags to pick up trash anymore. I could sleep until 6:30 and have a good breakfast like others, instead of worrying about having enough food. I didn't have to suffer sudden beatings in the middle of the night anymore. I could sleep well with a good night like others, instead of being scared all night and barricading the storage room door with a table. I didn't have to hide behind my hair to go to school. I could wear a high ponytail and hum and skip happily like others. Instead of being scared and shrinking, not knowing when I'd be dragged into a bathroom, they told me I could be excellent. I could fight, compete, and strive. They said, "Claire, don't be afraid. If you look back, behind you is home." I never had a birthday, never heard a happy birthday, and didn't even know exactly when my birthday was. The date on my ID card was random. Mom never told me the real date. She said she didn't remember either. That day, Auntie gave me 14 red envelopes. Ethan took me to 14 amusement parks. And they personally made me a big cake with 14 candles on it when I closed my eyes to make a wish. I heard happy birthday for the 14th time by my ear. They said the previous 14 years were a closed chapter, and the 15th year was a new beginning. From now on, any day I want could be my birthday. Clear Rivers and Ethan Shore. The old folks say, when two people are fated, their names can be connected. 14-year-old Claire worried the fate wasn't deep enough. So she set her birthday to be the same as Ethan's. June 26th. Since then, we have celebrated birthdays together every year. Andy smiled so widely she could hardly close her mouth, saying she never expected someone in middle age to have both sons and daughters. God often lets people have nothing, then gives them a little sweetness when they're deep in despair, only to take it back when they're addicted to it. Just when I thought things were getting better, my dad came back, loaded with debt. In the past 2 months, he blew all the money he'd won, saw the glitz and glamour, and became even more dissatisfied with his situation. He forgot the lesson of nearly bankrupting our family before, only remembering the one time he won money. He thought he was a dragon trapped in shallow water, unwilling to work steadily, dreaming instead of striking it rich overnight through gambling. But what he didn't know was that when you stare into the abyss stares back. No one gets rich from gambling, at least not my dad. He lost everything again on top of nothing, even selling the only old house we had, but it didn't cover the debts. With no more loans to take, nothing left to sell, no one left to beg, and no way out, he remembered he had a daughter. Knowing I was living with the Perez family, he dared not come to the door directly but blocked my way to and from school. The first thing he said when he saw me was, "You're grown now. You could lean on anyone's thigh. If only your mom had a daughter as sensible as you, life would be so much better now." He looked me up and down with calculating eyes. "I heard that Perez's kid and that crazy woman both care for you. Go ask them for $200,000 for me as compensation for the last time I got beaten." Whenever he came close, I couldn't stop trembling all over. I gripped my palm and forced myself to stay calm. $200,000? Do you think you deserve it? I certainly don't have that ability. He flew into a rage and slapped me hard. Even though I was prepared, I couldn't dodge. Familiar right ear, familiar buzzing sound. He viciously ordered me to get the money by tomorrow, or else he would kill me. Looking at his desperate, dead-end look, I somehow laughed out loud. Fear had peaked and then rebounded. Once fear reaches a certain point, it turns into courage. When the weak break out of the cage of fear and shift from victim to observer, they realize the abuser is no different. Both are essentially the same, except the latter hides incompetence and cowardice behind violence. The worst outcome would be death by beating, but he didn't dare do it. He was only bluffing, using everyone's fear of death to build his image. I calmly said, "I have no money, only one life. You can choose to kill me now, don't wait until tomorrow. But if you kill me, you'll spend your next life in prison." My dad realized his usual violent tactic was seen through and lost its effect, so he switched to playing the emotional card. A burly man, eyes full of tears, playing the pitiful act, almost kneeling down. Claire, Dad didn't mean it just now. I was too angry. Will you help me? It's just the two of us left in this world. Would you watch me be driven to death? Your mom's spirit wouldn't forgive you. Selfish, greedy for life, smooth-talking, full of lies, ungrateful, scheming, any negative word for a villain could describe him. I wasn't moved at all. Then go be with Mom. She's lonely and alone. A gambler has no bottom line. Seeing I was unmoved and unyielding, he started to act shamelessly. He came to the school multiple times, disrupting my studies. He blocked Auntie at the market entrance, slandering that I was abused at the Perez's. He even hung around the alley entrance, spreading rumors to ruin their business. But no matter what he did, no one would hand him $200,000 because everyone knew a gambler's appetite can never be satisfied. Once they taste sweetness, they become bloodthirsty vampires addicted to sucking, trapped in endless entanglement, until my dad went crazy drunk again, mouth foul. He said living at Perez's had brought him the curse of a crazy widow. And if he got $20,000, he'd consider me not his daughter anymore. He cursed Perez's family as short-lived, the uncle, auntie, Ethan, and me. He said short-lived people earn money, but have no time to spend it and might as well give all the money to him. He said. Uncle deserved his early death, probably suffering in hell now. Every word was like a salted blade, cutting open wounds that had yet to heal again and again. Andy fainted from anger. Ethan's forehead veins bulged, and he fiercely pinned my dad to the ground, beating him mercilessly. So when Officer Noah came knocking, I instinctively thought he was here to arrest someone. At 11 at night, Auntie was already resting. Ethan was still in the studio designing. I stubbornly refused to sleep, relying on the fact tomorrow was Saturday, insisting on keeping him company. Thinking he hadn't eaten much tonight, I planned to use my long-practiced cooking skills to make him a late-night snack. At that moment, a young man with a familiar baby face walked into the tattoo shop. It was the new police officer in town, Noah. He had handled several of my previous calls to the police. He asked me, "Is Ethan home now?" I was startled and nervous, thinking maybe Ethan had hit my dad, and now the police were coming for him. I shook my head. He went out and hasn't come back yet. Right after I said this, Ethan came out from behind me. They faced each other silently, the atmosphere very awkward for a long moment. Just when I thought a fight was about to break out, Officer Noah suddenly teared up and said fiercely, "Ethan, you damn made me hard to find." Ethan was slightly stunned, replied in a friendly yet distant tone, as if meeting an unfamiliar ordinary friend. "Noah, long time no see." Noah sneered, then exploded like a firecracker, cursing wildly. "I haven't seen your ass in forever. Who do you think you are acting like this? Now that you're the boss, you don't remember your old brothers. I'm telling you, unless I'm dead, you won't get rid of me." Tears suddenly flowed like a flood. Ethan rubbed his temple, helpless and annoyed, pushed him onto the sofa, threw him a pack of tissues. "Wipe it yourself." Noah waved his hand and threw the tissues back into Ethan's lap. His speech was broken and sarcastic. "I didn't bring money when I went out, so I damn well didn't dare use it. After all, we're not that close." Then he stood up from the sofa. "How dare I sit? I only deserve to stand. After all, we're not that close." Ethan frowned and said sternly, "Noah, I'm here, Captain. Speak properly." Okay. Unconsciously, the distance that time had brought between them gradually faded, replaced by a familiar tacit understanding surrounding them. Knowing Officer Noah wasn't here to arrest Ethan, I relaxed and cleared the living room for them. Planning to go to the kitchen to cook. "Brother, how about tomato beef brisket? I've been learning it from Auntie lately." Before Ethan could reply, Officer Noah wiped his face and quickly said, Sure, little sister, make plenty, I love it too." The next second, he got an elbow jabbed in the ribs. Ethan glanced sideways at him. "You call her your sister just like that?" Noah replied confidently, "Your sister is my sister. Why make such a big deal about it?" Even after I went into the kitchen, I could still hear him calling out, "Sis, remember to add extra chili." The kitchen is right next to the living room, and the night was quiet around. Noah has a loud voice, so even I, who am partly deaf, could hear their conversation clearly. "No way. It hasn't been that long. Where did you get a sister from?" "She's called Claire. Stop calling her little sister all the time." "Shit? Lucas Donald's daughter?" Didn't recognize her at first glance. A few months ago, she was skinny, always frowning, not talkative. I know her dad's a bastard, but I didn't expect him to be this much of a bastard. Purely can't stand to see someone live well? Asking for 200,000? The nerve. For a scoundrel gambler like that, unless you kill him or throw him in jail, little Claire's got a tough time ahead before she's an adult. Killing him's impossible, prison's even harder. Especially for a minor like Claire, domestic violence laws aren't perfect yet. Usually, only a level 2 injury can lead to criminal charges, otherwise it's light punishment. By the time it reaches level 2 injury, it's a fight between hospital and death sooner or later. Someone else didn't say anything, only the sound of a lighter flicking. Level 2 injury.so domestic violence can lead to criminal charges, not just detention. No one ever told me before. They all told me to endure and let it go. Even when I later called the police, it was just routine, no detention, only verbal warnings, only the new officer Noah, again and again, tirelessly cared. I stared at the oil bubbling in the pan, my hand gripping the seasonings tightly. When I came back to myself, half a bag of dried chili peppers had already been poured into the pan. The oil heated. The aroma of chili was thoroughly fried out, so strong it made my eyes water. They rushed in, thinking there was a fire. In the end, the three of us nearly choked to death in the kitchen. Officer Noah shouted, "Damn, little sister, you're something else. This chili is so hot I feel like my eyes are being gouged out." Ethan dabbed my eyes with a wet towel while kicking Noah. "Go open a window. It's your fault wanting to eat spicy." After that day, Officer Noah often came by at night to catch up with Ethan. Though most of the time, Noah did the talking and Ethan just listened, but their relationship was obviously good. My dad's words deeply hurt Auntie after she woke up. She spent more and more time staring blankly at the osmanthus tree. I knew she couldn't take much more emotional shock. It was a heavy burden for Ethan to support one more person. The tattoo shop was his main source of income for the family. His business couldn't keep getting disrupted repeatedly, and my dad had already latched onto the Perez family. But no matter if they gave him money or not, it wouldn't solve the problem fundamentally. It would just keep dragging on endlessly. I enjoyed the happiness they gave me, but made them bear the troubles I brought. There's no justice like that in the world. The story of the farmer and the snake can happen to anyone, but it must not happen to me. According to the domestic violence law, domestic violence causing a level 2 injury can be prosecuted as intentional injury, punishable by up to 3 years in prison. This was the information I found in the school computer room. Right now, this seemed like the only path before me. I didn't want to hide it from them. I stubbornly believed this was 14-year-old Claire's Gandhi movement. A nonviolent resistance challenging and breaking free from 14 years of patriarchal colonial rule. I deliberately provoked Lucas Donald and sent myself to him. By the time Ethan and Officer Noah arrived, I was lying on the ground, covered in blood, barely conscious and almost fainting. I woke up again in the hospital. My whole body hurt so much I couldn't speak. Looking at the bandages all over me and the cast on my wrist, I thought I had succeeded. However, wishes rarely come true in life. Things often go contrary to expectations. The injury report showed multiple soft tissue contusions over the body, fracture of the right wrist, multiple abrasions on the scalp, and 5 stitches on the forehead from being hit by a glass bottle. This only counted as minor injury, not level 2 injury. In practice, the standard for level 2 injury is very high, and I was far from reaching it. Officer Noah said my dad was arrested, but because it was only minor injury, he could only be held administratively, not criminally. That meant he was detained for 10 days, fined $500, warned not to offend again, and had to pay some medical fees for me. Then that was it. I had imagined everything too optimistically. Because of my naivete and foolishness, Ethan got angry at me for the first time. I in the hospital room. From when he came in and stood above me, looking down, it was a full half hour. During those 30 minutes, he didn't say a word. I knew I was at fault and kept my eyes down. Too scared to look up. Suddenly, he asked, "Since yesterday until now, do you think you did something wrong?" His voice was low, emotionless. I wanted to nod, but my head wrapped in bandages hurt too much. So I whispered. "Yes," he asked. "Wrong where?" I said nothing. He raised his voice. "Look at me." "Wrong where?" His eyes were bloodshot from sleeplessness, with stubble growing on his chin. My heart was filled with bitterness and guilt, nearly drowning me. "Sorry, I was impulsive and caused you all trouble, made you worry, and wasted a lot of medical expenses." He gave a cold laugh, eyes sharp like a knife. "Claire, you don't even know where you went wrong. If I had been one step later, would you even still be lying here? Do you think you're so clever you can control people perfectly? Don't you know your dad has no bottom line when he goes mad? Did you ask me before you made this decision? Did you think about the consequences?" His eyes reddened, and his voice trembled faintly with reproach. An indescribable emotion churned up from the bottom of my heart, surging all the way to my throat and choking me speechless. He paused, calm but with a hint of self-mockery. "Or maybe you never really treated me like a brother, nor saw this place as home." In an instant, it felt as if a piece of my heart was violently torn out, and the panic and fear stabbed me like a knife, tearing me apart. Tears rushed down uncontrollably as I shook my head and stammered out explanations. "That's not true, it's not like that. I really did see them as family. But they treated me too well, and I didn't want to be a burden. I wanted to do something too." He stared into my eyes, his fingers twitched at his side, then dropped again. After a long silence, his voice was soft. "Don't do that again next time." Then he turned and walked out of the ward. Watching his figure gradually disappear around the corner, I finally couldn't hold back my sobs. All kinds of complicated emotions intertwined, hurt, sadness, helplessness, rushed over me like a tide, binding me tightly, making my whole body ache. Life has no walls, yet I am trapped inside invisible walls. There are too few people who truly care about me. I grew up in an environment lacking warmth and kindness. So one day, when kindness came unconditionally, I was both eager and afraid. I didn't know how to repay it. I was born without the ability to accept it calmly. My heart forever harbored seeds of inferiority and timidity. The day I realized I was a thorough pessimist, I also realized I had ruined everything with my own hands. Human relationships are like a labyrinth, and as I gradually walked deeper into the maze, I discovered that everyone in this family carried unspeakable pain. Everyone was a complex contradiction. There were many things they didn't want to say. So even if I guessed, I pretended not to know. They called Auntie a crazy woman, but she was the kindest and gentlest person I had ever met. She was just trapped in grief after losing her loved one and couldn't come out of it. They said Ethan was a delinquent, but Ethan never hit anyone without reason. He tattoos others, but never tattoos himself. He's very clean, even obsessive-compulsive, smart, and academically excellent. Officer Noah called him Captain, and they often reminisced about their university days. Fragments flashed in my mind subconsciously. At the police station, I heard that Officer Noah was a top student from the public university. So the answer was obvious. Ethan was also a student there, and if not for some accident in between, he'd be a policeman just like Noah now, though I didn't know what happened. What I did know was Andy hoped Ethan could live peacefully, and Ethan hoped Andy could move past her pain, and my dad's existence was a wound to both. So I regretted it, but I regretted not thinking it through well enough, not being able to successfully put my dad away. I'm just an arrogant troublemaker. Ethan had every right to be angry. I quietly sniffled, comforting myself. It's okay. It's just going back to how it was before. I've been very happy during this time. People should learn to be content. Because I originally had nothing. I thought Ethan wouldn't come back. So when I saw him appear at the door carrying a thermos, I opened my eyes wide, afraid it was an illusion. He came closer and put the thermos on the bedside. Irritated, he said. Kids don't listen. Education's education, but you can't just throw them away, can you? I stared at him without blinking. Tears slipped down my cheeks again without me realizing it. He turned to look at me, lips moving, holding back for a long time before saying, Crying, all your luck's cried away. His tone was fierce, but the hand wiping my tears was gentle. I choked out. Sorry, brother, I won't do it again next time. Please don't be mad at me, okay? The moment he showed up, I had to admit all the comforting words I told myself were lies, self-deception. I didn't want to let him go. Didn't want to lose Auntie. Didn't want to lose that home. He said nothing, unscrewed the thermos lid, poured out the pigeon soup inside. After blowing on it to cool, he held it out to feed me. Unsure of his attitude, I ate, tears mixing with the soup. When the bowl was nearly empty, I heard him speak. What's there to be mad about? Adults don't hold grudges against kids. My anxious heart sank into my stomach, and I couldn't help but smile. It was the joy of something lost being found again. Suddenly, I thought of something. Brother, does Auntie know? Don't tell her, okay? Just say I went to school. He raised his eyebrows slightly, indifferent. Now you're scared? Too late. Guess who made the soup? Sometimes, not getting angry is scarier than losing your temper. Auntie saw me, but didn't say a harsh word, only cried out of pain, blaming herself for not taking better care of me. She said if something had happened to me that day, she would live the rest of her life in guilt. She asked if she hadn't done enough, hadn't given me enough security, causing me to feel unsafe. I felt so guilty I didn't know what to say. I didn't regret falling bloody on the floor. Didn't regret misunderstanding that. Ethan didn't want me, but seeing Auntie cry, I regretted it, because I truly saw the mother's self-blame and worry in her, feelings I never saw in my own mom. I stayed in the hospital for a week after going home. Auntie squeezed into the same bed with me for a month to take care of me. She helped me bathe, brushed my hair, applied medicine, no details spared. A gentle knife is the most deadly. I vowed over and over again that I would never do anything like that again. Only then did Auntie's long-held worries finally ease. Life sometimes twists and turns. A new village appears beyond the dark willows. When I thought there was no way to deal with my dad, one night, Officer Noah chatted casually with my brother and mentioned a new kind of cheating technique recently appearing in casinos, which had ruined many families. In a flash, I suddenly remembered that afternoon when I came home to get my piggy bank and saw a deck of playing cards on the table next to a pair of glasses, though my dad isn't nearsighted. So I asked Officer Noah what exactly this cheating technique was. He said the cheaters carry a special deck of cards that look like ordinary cards, but when they wear special invisible glasses, fluorescent numbers and symbols on the backs of the cards become visible. It matched exactly what I had seen, and that was when my dad suddenly got lucky and won a big sum of money. I told my brother and Officer Noah about this discovery. Less than a week later, my dad was caught cheating at a casino owned by an out-of-town boss. The tools he used were provided by the casino's owner, Mr. Zhu, who indirectly caused my mom's death years ago. The conflict between the two casinos was about to erupt. Victims reported to the police, and Zhu's casino was found to have repeatedly profited from cheating. To get away clean, someone had to take the fall. Mr. Zhu pushed my dad out as a scapegoat. I don't know what deal they made privately, but my dad willingly went to jail for him. So, on January 1st, 2014, the best news arrived. Lucas Donald was sentenced to 4 years and 9 months in prison for gambling and fraud, involving large amounts and serious circumstances. When I heard he was in jail, I instantly felt relieved. Finally, it was no longer a false joy. Until then, the last bit of hesitation that held me back from fully joining the Perez family was completely gone. My soul returned to them like water flowing back to the depths of the ocean, truly feeling alive. I took a leave of absence and studied at home for a month and a half. The wounds on my body finally scabbed over. The cast on my wrist was removed. Only a small light pink scar remained on my forehead, barely noticeable unless you looked closely. Auntie worried about scarring, so she made my meals as bland as possible during this time. So bland, I almost lost my sense of taste, until This afternoon, when I was finally told I could lift dietary restrictions, looking at the steaming bowl full of spicy crayfish in front of me. The fragrance alone made my mouth water. Auntie was allergic to seafood and couldn't eat it, and brother didn't like it because he thought it looked ugly. So this was made just for me. Claire, have some crayfish first to tide you over. Your brother hasn't woken up yet. The other dishes in the pot aren't ready. Ethan took a big order last night and, for the first time, went to bed at 10 a.m., so he still hadn't woken up by afternoon. I nodded happily. I'm a patient person and like to save the best food for last. I got an empty bowl, poured half a bowl of crayfish soup into it, put the peeled crayfish tails in one by one so they could soak up the flavor. Later I would mix it with fragrant rice, eating spoonfuls of meat and rice together. Just thinking about it made me hungry. After peeling half a bowl, I wanted to taste it first and took off my disposable glove. Just then, Ethan, with messy hair, slowly pulled out the chair opposite me and sat down. He propped his chin with his hand, his dark eyes looking down at me. He didn't say a word. Still seeming half asleep. I silently swallowed my greeting words. Maybe it was just my imagination, but I felt like his gaze was faintly fixed on the bowl of crayfish next to me. It must be my imagination. Auntie said brother didn't like to eat that. So I looked down, stirred the soup, and scooped a spoonful, ready to eat. Suddenly, he reached out and pointed. Sis, what are you eating? I paused, a little surprised, but thought maybe it was because he didn't like it and didn't recognize it. Crayfish, peeled crayfish tails, I explained. Oh. Does it taste good mixed like that? He asked curiously. I was confident. Of course, very delicious. Seeing his intense gaze, I tentatively offered the bowl. Brother, do you want to try some? You know what I mean, I never liked this stuff. He reluctantly took some. Well, I'll have a bite then. I watched as he scooped a huge spoonful, about a quarter of the bowl of meat, and swallowed it all at once. He frowned. TSK, can't taste anything. Then he looked at me. I struggled to say, Brother, how about another bite? Whoosh. The crayfish tails went down another quarter. My heart tightened. Thanks, sis. This is really tasty, he said in surprise, smiling with his perfect white teeth. It was rare to see him smile so brightly. I was momentarily dazzled. In a daze, I said. Want to eat another bite? Until the bowl with the crayfish tails was empty. Not gonna lie, the rice really is delicious when mixed like this. He slowly put down the bowl, dragging out the words, the innocent and polite expression from before completely gone. I looked at the empty bowl in front of me, then at him, pursed my lips and turned to complain to the kitchen. Mom? Hey? Ethan's face turned flustered, quickly reaching to cover my mouth. I'll pay you back. I'll pay double. The next second, Auntie rushed out of the kitchen holding a spatula. What's wrong, Claire? The food's almost ready. Ethan blinked frantically. I changed my words. Brother said he's hungry. Auntie pointed the spatula at him, annoyed. Hurry up, starve to death then. Then she turned and went back to the kitchen. Me. Only afterwards did I realize that I might have just accidentally called him by the wrong name. But everyone's reactions were way too natural. I even started to suspect that my memory was mistaken. In the middle of the night, I woke up with sharp cramps in my lower abdomen and cold sweat all over. I clearly felt something unusual down there. When I turned on the light, I saw a bright red blood stain on the bedsheet. I quickly realized it was my first period. Auntie is very attentive. Ever since she bought me underwear last time, it was clear she knew that because my mom died early, I lacked the usual understanding about puberty compared to other girls my age. So she often, intentionally or not, explained things to me. She worried that one day I'd suddenly get my period and be helpless alone. So early on she taught me how to use sanitary pads and always kept some at home and in my bag. But no one said it would hurt this much. It hurt worse than getting stitches on my forehead, waves of pain like a meat grinder inside my belly. By then Auntie was already asleep, only Ethan was still working. I changed the sheets and put them in the laundry basket, planning to wash them later slowly. After changing clothes, I held my belly and slowly shuffled down the stairs, holding onto the wall. When Ethan saw me, he was startled. He said I looked pale like a ghost. He thought it was acute gastroenteritis and tried to carry me to the hospital. I grabbed him. It's pain. Period cramps. He froze. Period cramps are like toothaches, one of the most frustrating, uncomfortable, and helpless pains in the world. So the two of us, with zero experience, had one of us rolling on the bed while the other frantically searched Baidu. He said, "It says you can't eat crayfish during your period." Later he peeled all the remaining crayfish for me, and I ate 2 full bowls of tails. No wonder it hurts so much, according to the advice posts. I drank hot water, had brown sugar ginger tea, used heat pads, tried everything. But nothing really helped. Finally, I saw a comment saying you could warm up a man's palm and press it on your belly. With nowhere else to turn, I looked at him pitifully. "Brother." He sighed helplessly, rubbed his hands to warm them. Then he pulled back the blanket and lay down beside me, one hand propping up on the headboard, the other pressing on my lower abdomen through my clothes. His body temperature was high, and the warmth from his palm flowed steadily into my belly. Gradually, the pain seemed to ease. After a while, I whispered, "Brother, my waist hurts." He changed the hand's position, gently massaging my waist. A while later, "Brother, my leg's cramping." I felt like crying without tears. He resignedly switched hands and started kneading my leg. The pain eased a bit. Sleepiness crept in. Half awake, I suddenly remembered something. I nudged him. "Brother, what's wrong now?" "Tomorrow at 7, remember to wake me up. The final exam starts at 7:30. After staying home so long, I almost forgot school started tomorrow. Silence. After a long moment, a voice from above sighed speechlessly. "It's already 3 a.m. Why not just wait until after the exam to remember?" Knowing I was wrong, I snuggled closer into his arms, shifted to a comfortable position, and pretended not to hear. Before I knew it, I was asleep, remembering he had to wake me up for school. Ethan woke before 6 a.m. He went to the other room, took the bed sheets and clothes from the laundry basket, soaked and scrubbed them in cold water. Worried about awkwardness if someone saw the wet sheets drying in the morning, he left them soaking in a basin after washing, after tidying up the house and making breakfast. He finally went to wake me up. 7 o'clock, wake up. 7:05, get up. 7:10, Claire. If you don't get up soon, you're done for. No amount of calling or pushing woke me. Ethan took a deep breath, bent down, and picked me up from the leg. He quickly put slippers on me, half supporting, half pushing me to the bathroom. During this, he comforted himself. "Not too bad, not too deep asleep." At least she reflexively took the toothpaste I squeezed out, and even if she didn't open her eyes, she responded. At least when I gave her the hot towel, she instinctively said hot. I was so deeply asleep that when I finally woke fully, I found milk in one hand and bread in my mouth. I was dumbfounded. Ethan pointed expressionlessly at the clock on the wall. "It's 7:15, you've got 5 minutes to get dressed and ready." The exam started at 7:30, and school was a 10-minute walk. My heart sank, and I shoved the rest of the bread into my mouth in a few bites. I turned and dashed into my room. Andy said the temperature would drop sharply today, though it felt warm inside because of the heater. I feared freezing outside, so I piled on sweater and thermal clothes all at once. When I rushed downstairs, it was exactly 7:20. I grabbed my backpack and was about to run out. "Brother, goodbye. I'm off." Just as I said that, someone grabbed the back of my collar, choking my destiny. I saw Ethan had changed clothes and said sternly, "You still want to run? Does your stomach not hurt anymore?" To be honest, it still hurt a bit. He seemed to sense it and immediately turned his back to squat in front of me. "Get on, I'll carry you." Between walking myself or being carried, I chose the latter without hesitation. When we stepped outside, I noticed it was snowing. The sky was gray, cold wind mixed with feather-like snowflakes fluttering in the air. Ethan carried me steadily and quickly. I held the umbrella and quietly rested on his back, watching the empty collar of his jacket, silently. I wrapped the plush scarf from my neck around his as well. He squeezed with the arm around my legs, and I was pushed up a little. "Brother, are you tired?" "Tired my ass, you're only a bit heavier. It's just that you curl up like a ball and keep slipping down. makes it hard to get a grip. Period pain came fast and left fast. The next day it stopped hurting, only some fullness in the lower belly. Auntie told me many things to watch out for during my period: keep warm, avoid certain foods, don't touch cold water, no exercise, and so on. Maybe because I gave Ethan a hard time that night, he was even more nervous than me when I got my period, telling me not to eat this, don't touch that, because I was in grade 9, preparing for the big exam. While others were on winter break, I still had to go to school until 2 days before the spring festival. It was my first New Year living with the Perez family, and there's the first at Peace Avenue. There would be many more years to come. New Year's Eve morning. I sat at the vanity. Auntie stood behind me, braiding my hair into small plaits. When the last strand was done, she cupped my face and smiled, her eyes full of joy. "Oh, Claire, how cute you are." I looked up. The girl in the mirror had 2 round buns, wearing a bright red velvet-edged cape that made her skin look fair and flawless, her dark eyes clear and bright, smiling with a beautiful crescent moon curve. No trace of inferiority or timidity anymore. Oh, this is what I had become. No wonder at school they said I was a different person from before. I turned around and suddenly threw myself into Auntie's arms, my head pressed tightly against her soft chest, just like the few times I hugged my mom as a child. I gently rubbed against her and whispered, "Thank you. Thank you for picking me up and putting me back together piece by piece." Warm hands gently massaged my head, joking. "Thank who?" Her tone held a hidden hope. I paused and blinked. "Mom." "Thank you, Mom." Her voice was full of joy. Soft lips kissed my forehead. "Mommy's Claire is really good." Joy quietly crept into my heart, sweet and warm. Seeing my ears turn red, she stopped teasing and told me to go wake Ethan to put up the couplets. Because it was the new year, customers had been booked solid every day. Ethan often stayed up until 2 or 3 a.m., and his schedule had changed. I knocked on the door. No response. I pushed open and walked in. The room was quiet, gray curtains filtering light, and the person on the bed slept soundly. Only faint breathing audible. I poked his face. "Brother, Mom said to wake you up to put up couplets." No response. I leaned close and whispered in his ear, "Brother, wake up, time to put up couplets." Still no response. The person on the bed closed their eyes peacefully, thick eyelashes like little fans. On impulse, I quietly reached out and tugged, firmly. I hesitated whether to pull harder. Suddenly, he opened his eyes wide. A look of disbelief and surprise, but no sleepiness. He looked both annoyed and amused. "You little ungrateful brat. I was wondering how you'd wake me, and you just pulled my eyelashes?" "Me. Careless." I smiled obediently as a tactic. "You look like a New Year's print doll." He couldn't resist pinching one of my little buns on my head. Mrs. Zhou was in the kitchen making rice dumplings, while Ethan and I teamed up to put up the couplets. The rest of the house was already decorated. He pointed at the last pair of spring couplets in his hands. One was a lazy sheep figure, the other a happy sheep figure. Each held blessings, looking adorable. He complained, "These are too childish. How about not putting them up?" I quickly shook my head. "Not childish at all, not childish," he said. "A bit tired, don't want to move." "No way, I had picked these out specially with Mrs. Zhou at the market." I grabbed his arm and shook it. "Brother, you're the best brother in the world. Put them up, put them up, put them in my room." A faint smile flickered in his eyes. Okay, fine." On either side of the window was a little sheep. Happy sheep is me, lazy sheep is Anselm. We are best friends. So I wish my best friend Anselm a happy new year. In the afternoon, everyone gathered around the table to make dumplings. Ethan teased my dumplings were ugly, grabbed a lump of dough, and told me to play with it myself. Mrs. Zhou held the rolling pin in one hand and constantly adjusted the dough's angle with the other, so the dumpling skins came out thin and round. She looked at Ethan and casually asked, "Why didn't your classmate come today? Went home for New Year." Ethan pinched some dumpling skin and was putting filling in the middle. "Didn't go home, stayed at work." "Aren't your parents worried? He grew up in an orphanage. No family." Mrs. Zhou said nothing. She lowered her eyes, lost in thought. rolling dough more slowly. After a while, she said, "Since you've made so many dumplings, call that kid over tonight to eat New Year's Eve dinner." Ethan was stunned for a few seconds before responding with a. They were talking about Officer Noah. He came almost every night, sometimes carrying a bag of vegetables he grew himself, sometimes fresh fruits bought from the market, and sometimes little stuffed toys he won from claw machines to give me. Ethan told him to just come and not bring anything, but he refused, saying even though he grew up without parents, he still knew how to be polite. Strangely, Auntie Jo, usually gentle and hospitable, was quite distant toward Officer Noah, almost as if she didn't want to get close. But at first, when she met Noah, she even praised how likable he looked. Later, after learning he was Ethan's classmate and now a police officer, her attitude grew colder. Noah noticed this, but didn't care about Auntie Jo's coldness. Every day when free, he would still come into the shop with a playful smile. He would help Auntie Jo grab the freshest vegetables at the market, trim the osmanthus tree in the yard, and whenever neighbors privately gossiped about her, he'd purposely wear his police uniform to warn them that spreading rumors was illegal. In short, he had a special kind of respect for Auntie Jo. That night, when Noah arrived, he carried gifts in both hands. Auntie Jo said, "Noah, next time don't bring anything." Noah's expression changed slightly, almost panic-stricken. Auntie quickly explained, "I mean, we're all family here, no need to be so formal." Only then did he breathe a long sigh of relief and said plaintively, "Auntie, when you say it like that, I almost thought tonight's dinner wasn't a reunion, but a last supper." This made Auntie Jo laugh out loud. After dinner, everyone sat together watching the Spring Festival Gala. Auntie took out 3 red envelopes and gave one to each of us. She smiled, year after year, peace and safety. "Thanks, Mom. Happy New Year." Ethan said as usual, "Thank you, Mom. Happy New Year." I received a red envelope for the first time and couldn't hide my happiness. "Thank you, Auntie. Happy New Year." Officer Noah didn't expect to get a red envelope too and was so excited he nearly jumped up. The mood was just right, so I went to my room and took out gifts I had prepared long ago for Auntie Jo, a scarf and a pair of gloves. She often sat by the door lost in thought, and now that it was cold, these would keep her warm. For Officer Noah, a thick knitted hat for the windy winters of our small town, to keep his head protected during patrols. Auntie Jo fondled the gifts left and right, delighted, and marveled at how skillful my hands were. Officer Noah was teary-eyed, saying he never expected to get a red envelope, let alone a thoughtful gift. Only Ethan remained silent the whole time. He kept staring at my empty hands and, finding nothing there, cleared his throat. I pretended not to hear and turned to watch TV. The cough got louder. Then the sofa beside me sank down a bit. Warm breath whispered by my ear, "They all have theirs. What about mine?" I turned and widened my eyes innocently. "Brother, didn't you say you don't like these things?" I had asked before, and he said he never wore scarves or such things, and that men should exercise more instead of wrapping themselves up. Thinking about it, he seemed never to feel cold. Even in winter, he didn't wear thermal pants. He froze, his expression growing awkward. "Who said that?" "I never said that." Then he pretended not to care and stared at the TV. "Fine, just forget about me then." "Forget it. I'm not the type to fuss about it." But his eyes clearly said otherwise. Auntie Jo and Officer Noah watched TV, but kept glancing this way. I stood up and pulled out a giant knitted sunflower from behind the sofa, half my height, which I had spent half a month knitting. Ethan loved sunflowers so much that if a guest wanted a sunflower tattoo, he'd give them a 40% discount without hesitation. I teased, "Hey, brother, you don't like this one either, do you?" He turned, pupils flickered in surprise. His shock couldn't hide his delight. Realizing something, he suddenly laughed. "All right then, you're brave. Teasing me on purpose, huh?" Sensing danger, I quietly backed up 2 steps. He stood, one hand on the sofa backrest, swung over and suddenly blocked my way. I turned to run, but he grabbed my bun hairstyle, choking my destiny, and started tickling me. I dodged and begged for help. "Mom. Mom, save me. Noah, brother, save me." They laughed, collapsed on the sofa, having the time of their lives, not helping at all. Amidst the laughter was the Spring Festival gala skit playing. I admit, I was too playful. Playing ping pong hurt both myself and others. I refused to. Before sleeping that night, I kept feeling the pillow was uneven. I moved it and found a red envelope and a long life lock. Next to them was a note. More joy, always peace, no worries and no fear. The writing was sharp and graceful, the ink like drifting clouds, the handwriting revealing the writer's character. Later, recalling countless happy moments in my life, each frame had their figures in it. After the new year, everything accelerated. To prepare for the high school entrance exam, the school increased the workload for ninth grade. We were either in class or taking tests every day. The schedule was tight. I left early in the morning, didn't come home for lunch, and returned after evening self-study at 10 p.m. The only time to sit down and eat or chat properly was Sunday afternoon, when I learned that the top 50 in the county could waive tuition and fees. I studied even harder. My grades were among the best in our town. But the county had many outstanding students, so I dared not slack off. Because I got out late, Ethan would pick me up at the school gate. At home, we'd eat the late-night snack Auntie prepared together. He worked overtime, and I studied beside him. Sometimes I got so tired studying that I'd fall asleep on the desk. He would silently carry me to bed and organize my stationery so I could grab my backpack and leave easily the next day, from cold winter to hot summer. I reviewed books and practiced problems repeatedly. I happily ranked 10th in the entire county and was admitted to the best high school, which waived my tuition and fees for 3 years and promised extra scholarships for outstanding university entrance exam results. When Auntie Jo found out, she hugged me and praised me, saying I was truly a Perez, as capable as Ethan was back then. A few days after the joyful celebration faded, I suddenly realized I had rushed too much in the past 6 months, and many things were changing without me noticing. During the 2-month summer vacation, Auntie Jo fell ill more frequently than before. She used to hang wind chimes under the tree only on the 5th of each month. Now, on every day with the 5, she hung them. Her dancing became more frequent. Sitting silently with Ethan at the door gradually became a habit. However, Auntie Jo cried more while reading, relied more on sleeping pills at night, ate less and lost her appetite. Even stopped visiting the market, seeming uninterested in everything. Everyone finally realized something was wrong and tried to take her to see a doctor, but she refused. Ethan, Officer Noah, and I took turns pleading desperately, but she didn't waver. Then one day, somehow, Auntie Jo finally gave in. Noah found the doctor. The diagnosis was moderate depression. I vaguely guessed it was because of Uncle's death, that is, Ethan's father. Even in this family, almost no one mentioned him. But his shadow was everywhere, the snow that falls in a person's life. We cannot see it all. Everyone spends their winters alone in their own life. I could do nothing, help nothing, not even truly empathize. Fortunately, Auntie Jo cooperated well with the treatment and gradually improved. That's how I started high school. The best high school required boarding, but gave a 2-day break every 2 weeks to go home. The school was far, 20 kilometers away, with no direct transport. 2 bus transfers were needed. To make it easier for me to attend school and take Auntie Jo to hospital appointments, Ethan bought a motorcycle soon after school started. It was jet black and very cool, just suited him, especially when he sat on it. Legs long and strong, casually resting on the ground, exuding a casual vibe between youthful and mature. Seeing me staring, he raised an eyebrow. How is it? Cool, right? I denied it without thinking. Not really, you're just one blonde hair away from a hipster. He glanced at me sideways. I meant the bike. I tightened my backpack straps, trying to ease the awkwardness. After getting on, he helped me put on my helmet. The bike started, wobbling a bit as it lifted. He said, "Hold on tight." I did. The sudden thrust made me cling with my arms. Under my skin, his muscles were firm and hot. A thought flashed. Such a slim waist. I'd never ridden a motorcycle before. After the initial nervousness, I relaxed and enjoyed the freedom of the wind. Boldly, I let go with one hand and spread my arms, imitating movie poses. Before I could fully enjoy it, a child suddenly dashed across the road ahead. Ethan braked hard. and my body flew forward uncontrollably. My chest hit the hard backrest painfully. I cried out, tears streaming instantly. Because of puberty, I'd been growing fast lately, especially my chest, which hurt when touched, not to mention such a strong impact. Did you hit something? I was too pained to answer. Soon the bike stopped by the roadside. Ethan took off his helmet and got more anxious seeing my tears. Where did it hit just now? My lips moved, but no words came out. I felt like my face was thinning without me noticing, shame and sensitivity flooding me suddenly. His voice got urgent. Talk to me. His burning gaze felt like roasting me over fire. My face flushed. I closed my eyes and gave up. Chest. It hit my chest, all right. He paused, realized something, turned his head silently, and put his helmet back on. His voice was dry. Anyway, brother didn't mean it. For the rest of the ride, I remembered to hold his waist tightly, but maybe because of the heat, my whole arm felt like it was cooking. As a prestigious old school, the top high school gathered excellent students from all over. Everyone cared about who learned well and scored high. No one had time or interest in cliques or bullying. Here, no one bullied or isolated me. I was just an ordinary student with 2 or 3 classmates I walked with, got along well with my roommates, and occasionally chatted about gossip. Early romances always the hottest topic, though the pressure and pace were much higher than middle school. I lived every day fully and happily. In sophomore year, when the arts and science stream split, I chose science, what I liked. With Ethan and Officer Noah taking care of Auntie Jo, they said her condition was becoming more stable. Surprisingly, she cooperated well with the treatment, and the effects were remarkable. Overall, things were looking up. To keep her from feeling bored, every time I went home for a break, I'd exaggerate and embellish amusing stories from school to make her laugh. At night, I would cling to her and hold her while falling asleep. Seeing her gloominess fade day by day, my worries gradually eased. The atmosphere at home became livelier. At first, I didn't realize I was changing until the tension in my nerves loosened, until my body and mind matured, until I no longer dared to meet Ethan's eyes directly. The gradual accumulation of small changes finally erupted, bringing about a long-awaited transformation. It was the slowing pace when sitting opposite him at dinner, the awkwardness of how to hold chopsticks, and the forced calmness breaking gaze first by looking away. It was the inability to focus when sitting beside him studying, my mind wandering wildly, and the sharp observation as I secretly studied every line on his knuckles. It was the silent pause after our thoughts aligned while chatting on the sofa, the deliberately synchronized heartbeat, and the rising warmth as I felt enveloped by his breath. It was the hesitant, half-held hand tightly clutching his waist on the motorcycle seat, the inability to say whether I missed him when asked, and the trembling voice from nervousness when saying goodbye after getting off. It was frequent moments of inexplicable days, secret watching and imitating, sudden stammering, feigned indifference, and long, restless day and night longing. I felt myself slowly losing control. I concluded I had developed a very strange illness. A strange illness that made it impossible to interact with Ethan like before. Because of this strange illness, I also began acting strangely. I no longer let him wash my clothes, whether a single piece of underwear or a jacket, and even hung freshly washed clothes on the small balcony outside my room, afraid he would see them. I stopped wrapping my arms around his waist in the car, instead awkwardly gripping the sides of the seat and stubbornly wearing my backpack in front to keep distance and hide my heartbeat. When I had painful cramps during my period, I silently made brown sugar water in the kitchen instead of acting coy and letting him warm my belly with his hands like before. One time after another, this invisible distance grew. What I didn't notice was Ethan's increasingly dark expression. So much so that Auntie Jo thought we were having a fight. One Friday afternoon, I got home. Ethan parked with a stern face, and I got off first with my backpack. Auntie Jo took my hand and quietly asked, "Claire, did that brat upset you somehow?" Surprised, I quickly denied. No, Ethan and I are fine." "Really?" "Really." Just then, Ethan passed by me. I instinctively stepped back 2 paces. He sneered with an unreadable meaning. Nothing was said, yet it felt like everything was said. Annie Jo's gaze flickered between us, clearly disbelieving. I blushed, unsure how to explain we weren't fighting, only I was at fault, but she waved her hand carelessly. All right, I won't ask anymore. You two will be fine again in a couple days anyway. Auntie Jo was a prophet. After dinner, she took her medicine on time and went upstairs to rest. Ethan was in the studio drawing, and I sat beside him planning to study like before. But 10 minutes passed, the test paper was still blank, and my attention involuntarily fell on the person beside me. My heart raced. I resignedly grabbed the paper to go back to my room. It's only 9:30. You're going to bed so early. I shook my head. No, I'm going to my room to do homework. He looked indifferent, twirling his pen quickly between his fingers. Can't you do it here? Or am I bothering you by being here? He slightly tilted his head. His long black lashes cast a faint shadow, and his sharp features were distinct. His eyes lingered on me with consideration. His fingers curled at his side, and I inexplicably felt my face flush hotter, almost intensifying. He said, "Sit down, let's talk." I put down the paper and sat back. He got straight to the point. You've been acting off lately. Caught. I felt awkward. He thought for a moment, then recalled. Did I do something wrong? I apologize. No. Were you bullied at school? No. He stared at me without emotion for a long time, suddenly asked, Are you in a relationship? My heart shook violently. It felt like being struck by lightning, burned inside and out, heartbeat stopping briefly. Countless fragments rewound in my mind. The confused thoughts suddenly cleared, like a lost traveler finding direction. A wanderer escaping the jungle, a nomad finding a home. Clouds parted to reveal the mountain, snow melted to let the bamboo straighten. Everything suddenly made sense. It wasn't the wind moving the banner, it was my heart stirring. Though my mind was now in turmoil, my face showed only a bit more silence than usual, because this war called secret love was destined to be fought alone. Seeing I didn't answer, Ethan assumed I agreed. He took a deep breath, his expression stiffening. Claire, you're only a sophomore. Who allowed you to date? Was it the kid walking next to you after school today? Or the one who greeted you at the school gate 2 Mondays ago? Or the one who held an umbrella for you on that rainy Friday 3 weeks ago? I stared at him in disbelief as he listed them like a catalog. He was frustrated. Don't tell me it was the one who slipped a love letter into your desk at the last parent meeting? I suddenly smiled. None of them. No relationship. Just a crush. Our eyes met. His gaze was sharp and direct, as if discerning truth from falsehood. I looked back calmly. A long silence followed, long enough for the air to grow heavy. His eyes softened and he warned. No early dating. I asked. If 17 is early, what about 18? He said firmly. Still early. What about 20? I'll date at 20. Still early. What about your age? I pressed. So, does that mean you're dating early too? His eyes flickered, he coughed awkwardly, waved his hand, and sent me away. Why are you still up so late? Go to bed. You're the one telling me to sleep, but also the one not letting me. Mood swings faster than flipping a book. A man's heart is like a needle at the bottom of the sea.